To sit there and mock my husband for not being with me on the presidential trail because he is deployed and serving our country. You mock one veteran, you're mocking all veterans. But this is a pattern, Dana. He's done this over and over again. Whether he went and calls military members suckers, whether he was at Arlington Cemetery saying what was in it for them, why would they do this? The problem with Trump is he's never been anywhere near a uniform. He apparently had some sort of foot reason that he says he couldn't do that. But the reality is the closest he's come to harm's way is a golf ball hitting him on a golf cart.
Trump has been hit in the head by a golf ball. Well, maybe that explains it. Anyway, that was Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley hammering away at Donald Trump. Less than 2 weeks until a GOP presidential primary in Haley's home state of South Carolina, where polls show Haley losing, the former governor is ratcheting up her attacks on Trump. Most recently, she blasted Trump for defending Russia's Vladimir Putin.
But the last thing you do is side with a guy who kills his opponents, side with a guy who has imprisoned Evan Gersovich because he was a journalist, side with a guy who's made no beef about the fact that he wants to destroy America. And you're going to side with a thug like that? What are we doing in America? And that's because he went off script. That's because they took him off he went off the teleprompter. That's what you're going to get is unhinged chaos.
Unhinged chaos. That's what Haley says America will get with another Trump presidency. Opinion surveys show most Americans agree with Haley about that. The problem is that a lot of Republicans want that chaos and want Donald Trump to literally burn down the institutions of government and U.S. society. Trump's previous pledges to drain the swamp have now turned to desires among MAGA world to have Trump obliterate the swamp and destroy everything nearby. Fortunately, the general election in November will not be decided by Republican Party extremists. Moderate and independent voters in a dozen key states will determine the ultimate outcome. And those voters, mostly centrists, have expressed concerns in surveys about the erratic nature of Trump and about the age-related issues of both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Haley has picked up on that. Here's part of a report from News Nation.
A couple of days ago, you had the special counsel come down and say that Joe Biden is diminished. He's losing his memory.
Her team handing out examples of mental competency tests to attendees at one of her campaign events. The quiz including seemingly simple questions like identifying animals and drawing a clock.
Well, Haley's clock was a bit off when she then made an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation. While trying to make a point about U.S. alliances, Haley botched the seemingly simple task of remembering the correct date of the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
What we always need to remember is America needs to have friends. After September 10th, we needed a lot of friends. We can never get into the point where we don't need friends.
And I would argue we can never get to the point where we misremember the date of the worst terror attacks on U.S. soil, 9/11, September the 11th, not September 10th. Perhaps in that moment on CBS's Face the Nation, Haley somehow got confused, or maybe her own mental cognition is becoming diminished. And by the way, this wasn't the first bizarre Haley gaffe in recent weeks. Last month, Haley forgot to mention slavery when asked a question about the cause of the U.S. Civil War. Slavery, 9/11, those are big historical markers in U.S. history. And Haley's bumbling makes her opponent's cognitive issues harder for Haley to leverage. Also, Nikki Haley is running out of time. No matter how hard she seems to hit Donald Trump or what she focuses on, the polls are clear, and Donald Trump is all but certain to beat Haley and become the Republican presidential nominee. At that point, Haley's warnings about Trump creating unhinged chaos will show up in Democratic attack ads. Still, Haley is now throwing everything she has at Donald Trump, even if it's too late, and it certainly is interesting. By the way, for his comments about NATO, Donald Trump is getting bashed in the United States and Europe.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.